Welcome to the Birth Launch Podcast, an empowering space for expecting and new parents to hear candid conversations with experts and learn how to craft your ideal birth. We will tackle the scary and weird questions that come up along the way and provide answers that are driven by science and evidence-based recommendations. I'm going to show you how to redefine parenthood and choose what's best aligned for you and your goals. With 10 years of experience in family education and a master's degree in human development and family studies, I'm ready to help you navigate pregnancy and explore your birth options to free yourself of fear surrounding childbirth. My goal is to help you have an informed and confident labor experience, plus an empowered and joyous postpartum. Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Birth Launch Podcast. Today I'm so excited to be diving into a topic that I always find myself recommending to clients, and sometimes I get a little pushback from clients. So I wanted to have on an expert where it's not coming from me, it's coming from someone who truly knows all the benefits of meditation in pregnancy. We're going to touch on the topic of labor. So you guys help me welcome Nathalie Walton, who is the co-founder of the Expectful app.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Yay, I'm so excited to have you. So the Expectful app is an app for new and expecting parents to help them have better birth outcomes, a healthier and happier pregnancy. Talk to us about what that journey looked like, getting to the place where you were like, okay, we need an app that can help people like do the whole birth thing.
So actually, my story is unique. Expectful was around when I was pregnant, and my personal story, I was pregnant in 2019. I don't know if I'm like most of your users, but I'm like type A, and I was doing everything right in my pregnancy. And I was. And then around my 20-week scan, I was told that I was at high risk for preterm labor and that I could lose my child at any moment. And as you can imagine, that just like it created so much stress in my life. And I think pregnancy can be stressful enough, but just knowing like you might not make it to term is really stressful. And lo and behold, I came across this app called Expectful, and I started meditating, and I got really into hypnobirthing. And what happened was that really within a week of doing this, my condition stabilized. So like I had been going to the doctor multiple times a week, doing the NST and the Doppler test. And I saw that the test started stabilizing, and lo and behold, I made it to term, which was something that none of the doctors thought was possible. And as we'll talk about today, I now know the research as to why that happened, but that's actually what paved my way to take over Expectful. So I had my child and I had this really positive experience with this app. I became an advisor, which later turned into me becoming a CEO. So that's how I got to Expectful.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh, my heart is like thumping with like, how cool is that? So I'm a big believer of meditation and breath work and mantras, really putting into your mental health, especially in pregnancy, because it is such a inward, individualized, like personal experience. You really have to work on yourself in order to be able to have a positive experience. So talk to us about the data and the science behind meditation. What are we seeing as far as benefits that people get? What's the data like truly show? Are these things that are really researched? A lot of the pushback that I hear from people is they're just unsure how impactful meditation might be. So what's the science say behind that?
Ooh, there's a lot of science. So there's 4 studies. I'll talk about them pretty quickly. So earlier this year, we had a study published in the Journal of Women's Health and the Journal of Midwifery and Women's Health. And this study looked at pregnant women who were using Expectful, and it measured their perceived stress scores. And the study found that women who were using Expectful and meditating on like a frequent basis saw their perceived stress scores reduced by 25%.
Wow.
Prenatal stress is linked to a lot of negative outcomes. One, preterm labor, which is like why I believe I was able to make it to term. And so that study actually looked at how does your stress change, your stress levels when you have a constant meditation practice. And we found that it reduces it by 25%, which is quite significant. So that's one, is like reducing your stress, which is connected to a lot of like negative outcomes. There's another study, this didn't look at Expectful, but there are multiple studies that look at labor pain. And like this gets into the breath work and hypnobirthing practices. And there's studies that show that people that have that mindfulness practice perceive pain less during birth. And so like for me, I wanted to have an unmedicated birth, and I was actively hypnobirthing, and I actually didn't find it to be like that painful of an experience. I mean, that's myself, but like there are studies that show that your sense of pain is reduced when you have that mindfulness practice. The third study was recently published this year in UCSF, and this looked actually at mothers who meditated during pregnancy and their infants, their response to stress. And it found that women who had a frequent meditation practice saw their babies have a better stress response. So it's like, isn't that incredible that you can do something while pregnant to improve your baby's outcome? So that's the third study. And the last one is my favorite. So I was a NICU mom, and I also struggled with breastfeeding. And I'm not alone, because 92% of women struggle with breastfeeding in the first week of life. And just being a NICU mom, like I could not get output. Like if I made like a little, like 10 milliliters of milk, I was like really proud of it. And this study was published in the Journal of Perinatology, and it looked at pumping NICU mothers. And these pumping NICU mothers were given Expectful. And it found that those that used Expectful on a regular basis saw their breast milk production increase by 7 ounces a day, like ounces in the NICU. And that, like, I mean, it makes sense because so much of your milk production is tied to stress, but like what I would have given to have 7 more ounces of breast milk a day is like, that's a lot. Also, that study saw that there were increased pumping episodes because doing the meditations during pumping made it more bearable. There was 100% increase in skin to skin contact. So just, those are 4 studies. Like the results are there. And meditation has a huge impact in pregnancy and postpartum.
That is incredible. 7 ounces is more than some people ever pump in one pumping session. That's crazy. Okay, so what about breath work? We know that the studies are there for like labor pains and stuff, but what about long-term impacts?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of studies that show that breath work, like any type of meditation, something that is calming your nervous system and reducing stress, has positive impact. So breath work, absolutely. I mean, the thing that I know that is hard is like, I've been trying to meditate for 20 years, and meditation isn't one size fits all. Like you have to find the type that works for you. It could be like you're sitting on a cushion and not thinking about anything, or it could be like listening to an app and like, here's a guided meditation. It could be like, here's a breathwork exercise. In fact, on Expectful, like we have walking meditations, we have pumping meditations. It also could just be like, here is a calming sleep story that you should listen to before you fall asleep to have a better sleep. So like breath work, I mean, what it is like the benefits are there. And if what you think is meditation isn't working for you, then it's not working for you. Find something else. And like, there is some type of practice that can make it easier for you.
Yeah, change it up to find what fits in for you. So same, I have been like trying to meditate, not nearly for 20 years, but in the last couple of years, as I have learned about the benefits and I've seen kind of the benefits of what meditations I do, I have tried to make it a weekly practice. I don't do it every single day, but I try and do it multiple times a day. And I find like I could do it in the shower or lying in bed, either before I start my day or at the end of the day. Sometimes I take time outside to just go sit in the grass in my yard, and I'll do some deep breathing, not necessarily a full meditation. So find what works for you. I love it. Is there a certain number of minutes or time that we should be doing each week, each day, each month to get the benefits, or just having a general practice kind of gets you there?
I mean, there's different studies on this. I think if you just do it once in a blue moon, you probably won't see the results. But what people don't realize is like, you can do this in just 5 minutes. You can just do this in just 2 minutes a day, like a couple of times a day. I mean, we find that most of our users are like really good during the week, and then on the weekends they slide, but that they still have the benefits. And I think what's most important is just like looking into the practice and building a toolkit. Like if you can't commit to a long-term practice, try like a couple of days a week. So that way, like when you're in labor, or like if you are sitting there breastfeeding, your milk is not coming out, like you can come back to this breath work, or like at least be familiar with it, because it's a tool. I mean, it's kind of like the way I view it. It's like, it's a vitamin, something that you should take consistently, but it could also be used as a painkiller. So like if there's a time where you need it can come in that moment, but it's best used as a vitamin.
And is it much like a muscle as well? The more that you kind of practice it in pregnancy, the better it will perform essentially in labor, the better you'll be able to kind of relax into that and kind of tap into that.
Yes. And I would say the same goes for motherhood. Like if you developing anything in postpartum or motherhood, it could be done, but it's not easy.
Totally.
And I mean, motherhood is a true test for everyone. And, when you're not sleeping the way that you need to be, if you're breastfeeding, you're putting, it's an extra stress on your body. It's harder to build that practice in motherhood. I talk to so many users, and so many of our users are like, I'm so grateful that I started in pregnancy because I was able to carry it over in motherhood. And it really helped them, especially like when it comes to being able to take cat naps. Like I love meditation because it helps me nap during that time where I was like trying to sneak in an hour here and there. It's like your mind is racing because you're like, is my baby alive? Are they breathing? and sometimes it's like really hard to turn off, but having access to that meditation does help your mind turn off so that you can easily get back and meditate and like feel restored.
So you've mentioned walking meditations. Now you've mentioned naps. What are some other ways that pregnant people can utilize meditation in labor? Like what are some of your best, easiest practices for the busy person who just wants to like slide it in? Where are some other places in your day that you might be able to slide it in?
Yeah. I mean, I think like the shower is something that people like. I mean, you can stand and just listen to meditations. I mean, sometimes it's just about the content. Like in our app, we have daily affirmations. Sometimes it's just also like being able to believe that you can do something and having that positive reinforcement, knowing like I'm powerful, particularly in that postpartum period where it's like your hormones are aging and like you might feel left out and feel like you're not doing your best is just like affirmations. So thinking about that, I mean, it's really all about the positive reinforcement. And so, whether that's doing like on our app, we have 2-minute meditations, we have 5-minute meditations. It's like wherever you can sneak it in is helpful. I mean, people tend to do it when they wake up or right before bed, but with 2 or 5 minutes, like if your Zoom call ends early, like you can just sit there and do it.
I love that. I'm all about fitting things in where they can be in clients' lives coming, that's all the way from like, and trying to increase your breast milk supply to trying to sneak in naps to trying to sneak in your exercises to help get baby in the right position to go into labor. Okay, so we keep talking about meditation in labor. Talk to us about what are the benefits there? Where do you see people use meditation in labor? Are there tricks that we need to know to using it? Are there places that are better than others to use it? Or basically it's just a tool in your toolbox and you use it as you need it?
I am like the biggest fan of hypnobirthing. Yeah. Like, I mean, we have a hypnobirthing on our app, which I love, and it's relatively new. Like when I had my son, like I had to download like MP3s and like a CD. I felt like I was, in the days of Napster of trying to like, to just get this content. But like we have a hypnobirthing course, which is like completely accessible. And I just think hypnobirthing, I mean, it's like a breathing practice for labor. If you can pop in your headphones and just like, that's what I just sat there doing, like just doing the exact hypnobirthing exercises that felt like my contractions were waves and my body was meant to do this. It just made the whole experience like pretty calm.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yes, it's like a tool in your toolkit, but like if you just spend even like an hour or two into hypnobirthing and like are able to access that in labor, I think like you'll have a much calmer, peaceful, more gentle labor.
That is awesome. Oh my gosh. Okay. So tell us about your app. Where can people find it? What are they going to see when they open it up? Is it a membership? Is it, one-time payment? Is it free? What are the goods that we need to know about the Expectful app?
So you can find Expectful. You can find it in the App Store, either on Google or on Apple App Store. You can also find us at expectful.com. That's EXPECTFUL. We're also at Expectful on Instagram. If you don't follow us, you should. We have a really awesome page there. And in terms of what you'll see, it's like we have a 7-day free trial. So like you can just download it. And if you don't like it, no harm there. And check it out for, a week. And then after that, it's just a subscription. Like we have monthly subscriptions and we also have yearly subscriptions. But I think, most people really get so much value out of it. And I think what we have on there is we have over 3,000 meditations for fertility. So like trying to conceive, pregnancy, postpartum, and motherhood. We also have over 50 live events a month, ranging from like prenatal fitness to prenatal Pilates to office hours with lactation consultants, infant sleep consultants, like midwives. So you can get your questions answered. And also like courses on everything ranging from like mom guilt to like how to return to work after having your baby. So it's really a huge breadth of information that people can access.
Cool. That is amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, I have really enjoyed talking to you today. This has been a phenomenal episode. Thanks so much for sharing about all the benefits of meditation. Like I say, I'm a big fan personally. I'm a big fan in pregnancy. I have seen the benefits in labor, and I just think everybody should do it. So if you're listening and you're like, oh, should I? Like, shouldn't I? You should. You just should. Just download Expectful and start meditating, you guys. And like Nathalie says, it can be quick. It can be, squeeze into your day here and there. I often listen to mantras while I drive. So it can be, and it can vary. You can choose to do one thing today and something different tomorrow. Just having a mindful practice during pregnancy will really pay off in labor. All right, Nathalie, is there anything else you want to share before we say goodbye to our folks?
No, thank you so much for having me on. I really hope that, you just give it a try. It doesn't have to be Expectful. Like I really do care about, using mindfulness to improve pregnancy outcomes. And so whatever it is, even if it's just, going on a walk and breathing, just give it a try, because it's really, the science is there, and it's a low cost. It's practically free, like to meditate, and the benefits are endless. So give it a try.
That's awesome. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We will see you next time on the Birth Lounge podcast. Until then, if you are watching this on YouTube, check out the podcast for the full episode, or follow us on Instagram at Tranquility by HeHe. Or if you are listening to the podcast, check us out on YouTube and give us a follow on IG. Bye, you guys. Hey y'all, just one last reminder to remind you that the Birth Lounge doors are officially open for you to be able to get into this online membership to help you have an informed and confident birth. No matter what you choose, no matter what twists and turns come your way, no matter what happens in your labor, you will know your options, you will understand your rights, and you will be able to confidently communicate and share your goals and your preferences with your medical team so that you can have your best birth possible. You can find all of this at thebirthlounge.com/join. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you next time on the Birth Lounge podcast. Until then, head over to Instagram and find us at Tranquility by HeHe and give us a follow. You can also check us out at thebirthlounge.com.